Today's episode of The Real Deal with Damian Adams is brought to you by the 3pointconversion.com. Now, 3pointconversion.com is where fans' opinions matter. It's the best sports site to get your updates as quickly as humanly possible. You also get great articles written by talented writers from all over the country breaking down the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, boxing, hockey, NASCAR. Any sport need that you have, the 3-Point Conversion can take care of that for you. So make sure you go ahead and check out that site and follow 3-Point Conversion on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is Real Sports Talk for the Real Sports fan, and I definitely appreciate all you Real Sports fans who are listening right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. Please do not forget to give this podcast a 5-star rating. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That 5-star rating and review will definitely be appreciated. If you're listening on the 3-Point Conversion station on Spreaker Radio, please let us know what you think of the show, because the 3-Point Conversion station is where fans' opinions matter. So if you think the show is hot and you want to give compliments, please do so. If you think the show can improve and you have critiques, please give those as well, because I cannot be great without your compliments and critiques. I need both of those, okay? So please let us know what you think of the show. Have a very big show today. It's super packed, and I'm very excited because all the topics we're going over, I needed someone who truly knows their sports, has strong opinions, and someone who's talented on the mic to assist me with going over all these topics. So today we're going to talk about the NBA, NFL Week 7, preview Week 8. We're also going to do a little sports trivia, forgotten players. And to go over all these different topics, I need someone who has all those skills that I went over earlier. I'm talking about my man, Cole Johnson from Cole Sportz. What's going on, Cole?
Going good, man. Going good. Anytime I can hit Dave Chappelle, I'm doing real good.
And whenever I have a guest on for the first time, I always like to get to know the guest for a little bit, so my audience can get to know the guest and love them, like I love them. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Cole?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was born in New Orleans, reared in Houston, so my rooting interest sports-wise is pretty much all things Houston. I moved to Nashville about 8 years ago and love the city here. Everything except for Titans. And I currently work as a producer for USA Today, and I have a sports show called Sports, and I have a general interview show called Revelations. It's on hiatus now, but it's going to get kicked back up very soon. And that's pretty much me.
So you work for a producer. As a producer for USA Today. What does that job entail?
All right. Well, how can I describe it? All right. So if you're an editor of a newspaper and you want to have a presence online, that's where you have someone like me come into play. So I'll take whatever news story you may have, and then I look at all the possibilities, search engine optimization or SEO possibilities. I come up with what they call chatter, which is, I guess you could say, a teaser line for when you see it on Twitter or Facebook. And I also help manage their home fronts or home page fronts. You're involved with the 3-Point Conversion. I'd be that person who you would see all those pretty images up front. I'd be the one that would be switching all the stuff out and switching the stuff in. So pretty much that's what the job entails. Plus, we do video stuff, we do other graphic stuff, and they decided to call your boy up in there. They said, yeah, we might fire up some podcasts too, and I think you'd be good for it as well. So I said, hey, I have all that other experience plus that too, and that's what the job entails.
It definitely sounds very interesting. Glad that you're getting to use your talents in such a way. You also mentioned that you have a interview series that you'll be bringing back pretty soon called Revelations. What can people expect, and where can they look out for that series?
All right. Well, it will be on Pippa. That's PIPPA.io. It's also on YouTube. It's also on iTunes / Apple Podcasts and other places that you can catch podcasts as well. It's been on hiatus for a little while, but it's going to be kicking back up sometime as of this recording next week. So about the end of October is when it'll start back up again. So it's going to be real soon, and I look forward to having people tune in and listen to it. And definitely, I'll throw the invite to you to be on the show too.
I definitely appreciate that. Look forward to it. Now, I'm a big fan of Cole Sportz. I love your format and the different way that you look at things. For people out there who have not, listened to the show, what can they expect when they tune in to Cole Sportz?
Man, good question. What should people expect? I was listening to other sports shows for a long time, and I said, okay, I think I can do a lot of things that I'm hearing, but what am I not hearing? And I think what a person can hear when it comes to my show, they'll get a 60 minutes-ish view on one segment, which is called Upon Further Review. They'll also get the true fan perspective as well. Dope of the Week and Going In. And Dope of the Week basically is, the person who has done the worst in whatever league. It could be NFL, it could be Major League Baseball, it could be NHL, NBA, tennis, golf, doesn't matter. Boxing even. And also I do sort of like quick hitting headline stuff at the beginning of the show. And I do it in a way where I poke fun at this. I do it in a way where it can grab the attention of someone who is sort of like elevator pitch worthy. It's like, okay, how can I grab their attention in 30 seconds to a minute? And if I can do something within a minute that I grab their attention, then okay. And one of the things I realized I didn't hear from other sports shows that I knew I could bring into the fold is comedy, and not from the standpoint of just being over the top annoying, but just humor in different ways. Using my voice in different ways, using sound effects, and going about bringing the sports news to the sports fan in an entertaining way instead of what you hear mostly, which is, okay, well, here's the real, here's how it is, da 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 da, next point, da 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 da, next point, da 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 da. All right, we come to the end. And some weeks you can get a rant from me. Some weeks I'm down. Some weeks I'm subdued. Some weeks I may clown myself. Some weeks I may clown other people. It depends on the mood, depends on what's going on in that week. And, that's, in a nutshell, what you're going to get.
You mentioned that one of the segments of your show is called Upon Further Review. And I imagine the situation that happened with your Houston Rockets is one of those situations that could be in that segment. So your Houston Rockets were a part of the biggest story of last weekend. They were playing against the Lakers, and the fight broke out. So for people who weren't watching, Lakers are playing the Rockets. They're in LA. This is the opening game for LeBron in LA. It's a whole big deal. And during the game, it's a really close game, very competitive. And James Harden's going to the goal. He does his normal push-off thing that he does when he goes into the goal and he gets the foul. It's been happening for years now. And Brandon Ingram was not happy with that. Very frustrated with the refereeing. And as he's going to talk to the referee, Harden's also talking to the referee, saying that it should be an and one, which I did agree with him that it should have been an and one on that call. But Ingram, like I said, upset with the ref, just shoves Harden, which a lot of people didn't, including myself, didn't know why he was so mad at Harden. When Harden it was a basketball play that Harden was doing. So he shoves Harden, and then he starts to get in the referee's face. Lance Stevenson comes to break it up. Next thing you know, Chris Paul and Rondo are getting into it. Next thing we can't see it, But CP3 says that Rondo spit on him. What we see immediately is that Chris Paul is poking Rondo pretty much in the eye. Rondo goes to punch him. They throw blows. Punches are landed, which you don't see much in NBA fights. Brandon Ingram comes in, tries to land a haymaker from behind, and then everybody breaks up the fight. LeBron, grabs his best friend, or one of his best friends, and Chris Paul, brings him to the side. And my question to you is, what were your thoughts on the whole situation?
I start with Ingram. And really that's where it all, to me, that's where it all begins and ends. Because you don't have that fight, which, yes, Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo have been at odds with each other for 10 years. I get that. But you don't see them getting nearly as heated as they were, unless you didn't have a 21-year-old who simply let the reigning MVP of the league get to him with how he always gets to every defender. I mean, heck, you and I, who do not play in the NBA, knows the book on James Harden. On offense, he's going to draw fouls on you. He's going to do everything he can to draw fouls on you. You know this. You know this coming in. You know this going out the game. That's how he is. I mean, the guy for the last 3 years has led the league in free throw attempts. So you know that's his game. So why would you let it bother you? And that's where it begins and ends for me. Ingram let Harden's antics bother him, because you could have called offensive foul too on that as well. It depends on the referee and how he wants to or she wants to view that particular call. But it was called a foul on him. And then with the shove, I'm like, dude, you're getting angry over a guy that has been doing this almost 10 years. Where is the problem here? You know this is his book. This is him. This is his MO. This is how he gets down. Now, if he did something different, I would totally understand it. But I've seen him drive jerky like he does. Run into you, literally run into you, draw the foul, get the whistle. And we've been seeing that ever since he's become a starter for the Rockets. That's been his game. So that's where it starts for me. And seeing Rondo and Paul get at it, I mean, I laugh because those are the two, I won't say dirty, but those are the two most agitative people that you could ever have on the court. I mean, it's like they live on getting under your skin. That just seems to be their MO. They live on getting under your skin. So it's funny that they got under each other's skin. And then here comes Ingram again trying to land a blow. But all of that was because of number 14 for the Lakers. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be talking about the fight at all. We wouldn't be talking about what Rondo said after the fight. We wouldn't be talking about what Paul said after the fight. We wouldn't be talking about having a combined 9-game suspensions for all three players combined. It all came to that, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah, this is what we need to see in the NBA." No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't need to see that in the NBA. Now, I get passion and all. That's great, but it can get out of hand real fast. So, no, you don't need to see that all the time at all. But I will say this for the positive for Ingram. It was good to see that he, I guess you could say, curried favor with his team, that he stood up for his teammate. It was good to see that. But the rest, that's one of those cringe-worthy moments. And I mean, the last time we all had that sort of cringe-worthy moment in the NBA happened in Auburn Hills, Michigan, 14 years ago. So, that's what I think about that.
I definitely agree with everything you just said. And with it starting and ending with Ingram, do you think 4 games was enough of a suspension for Ingram?
I don't think it was. However, I understand why it was 4, because he still is a youngster, and he's not the type that would do like what he did. But I really do think they needed to send a stiffer message because I could see this event happen again. Maybe not between those two teams, and maybe not between those two players, but I could see something similar happening down the line because when you can get away with that, and even Ingram himself said, "Yeah, this is lenient because I thought I was going to be sitting out for more games before." It's stressed. I mean, I know it's stressed in the NBA. You don't, if you're on the bench, you don't get off the bench. That's automatic suspension for you. You throw a punch, that's automatic suspension for you. And for me, I saw 3 different crimes with England. The shove, which was called the tackle on the floor, the shove to Harden, the bowling up to the referee, and then the punch he threw. So I would have been a little stiffer. I would have probably said, I would say 6. Considering that this is his first big time offense like this, I'd say 6 games would have been good enough. I don't think he needs to sit out like a whole month, but he does need to sit down a little while and really reflect and think about that, though.
I definitely can see that. 6 games would be a good penalty in my mind as well. With Rondo, it was very hard to see the spit. They had to literally slow it down and point to it for you to see the spit. He didn't do a Missy Elliott. He didn't do the in your face, open your mouth, give you a taste. He didn't do one of those. But it was a very subtle spit that he did. I don't know if he says that he was just, basically he had the mouthpiece in, he was about to say something and spit came out, which is very believable. Some people do spray it when they say it. It's very believable that could have happened with the little amount that came out. But I understand Chris Paul's reaction. Once you get spit on, you're not really thinking in that moment, especially if it's a heated moment, you're probably thinking he did it on purpose. So I can understand his reaction. Let me restate that. I understand him being angry. What I don't understand in that reaction is normally if you get spit on and you think somebody did it on purpose, you're throwing blows right away. So when he went to poking him in the eye, that's what made me think like it wasn't spit. It was just him being mad and wanting to somewhat punk Rondo and poke him in the eye. So it was kind of a weird reaction, but maybe he was trying to show restraint in that moment and just say, I'm not going to stand for you spitting in my face, but I'm not going to throw a punch at this moment. But I can see where he's got a bunch of things going through his mind at one time. He doesn't want to get suspended. He's also the president of the Players Association. So I can see where he's trying to show restraint, but also just got spit on, so he's angry. So I guess that combination of things is what led to him poking him in the face, and then Rondo reacted. So I agree that Ingram should have got 6 games because he started the whole thing and ended the whole thing with that, crazy punch that because if he would have landed that punch, it could have been a lot worse. The one that he came with, throwing behind when nobody else was, looking for him.
Oh yeah, definitely could have been a whole lot worse.
And for Rondo and Chris Paul, Rondo, because we saw the spit, like I said, I don't know if I can't say if it was on purpose or not. I agree that he should have got one more than Chris Paul. But I do agree with you that this is not a good look for the NBA. It creates a little drama, but at the same time, it's not the type of drama you want for the NBA. You go to a whole deeper level with it because it's a mostly black league. You don't want that image for black players when it comes to those type of stereotypes. Other leagues can get away with it. Hockey, baseball, when they have brawls, it's not looked at the same way. So when it happens in basketball, we have to be extra careful because it is a mostly black league to not have these moments. So
also with hockey, there's etiquette with it.
Yeah.
If you notice when you see fights break out in hockey, the refs basically call a halt to the whole stop, the whole action. The 2 players, one from each side, and normally skate to an open area, and they do what they do, either wrestle or swing. And you don't see any other player of either side getting involved. And the refs let the players get their frustrations out, and then when they see a lull in the fighting, then they break them up and send them to the penalty box. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, they fight in hockey. Well, yeah, there's rules to it. Now, if you want to see that in basketball, fine. But I don't think you would like how it would look. And you pretty much stressed it. We're dealing with an 80% player league that is African American. And to see 2 guys, throwing hands, and they're black, that's not a good look. The league doesn't want to see that, and the fans don't want to see that either. But I mean, if you want to have that slated and you want the etiquette to be placed on there, where you have those two guys just go and squab, fine. But I don't think you'll like the result of it. I really don't.
No, I definitely agree there. We wouldn't like the result. We wouldn't want players like Chris Paul, who's very important to his team, breaking his hand in a fight that was sanctioned because the NBA wanted to win by those rules. So I definitely agree with you there that it's different with the NBA. You don't want those guys out there fighting. Especially, you don't want somebody like a LeBron throwing blows at his size. Like, he can do some real damage if you allowed him to fight somebody. Like, we don't want that.
No, you don't. And let me give some props to LeBron. People were trying to hate on, saying, "Well, why is he pulling back? Why is he pulling back Chris Paul and then he's throwing his hand on his shoulder?" I'm like, you all know the deal. One, that's the godfather of his child. Two, he's the godfather to Paul's child, so they're boys. They're as close as you can get. And plus, when you're dealing with fighting, rules out the window with teammate stuff, forget that. You're trying to stop the fight, and outside of Melo, the only person that could have probably calmed Paul down was LeBron. So he did the right thing in that instance. And I don't care if anyone disagrees with me with that. He did the right thing. Break up the fight, try to calm everything down, because you're right. That 6'8", 275 guy, yeah, if he balled up his fist and just caved in somebody's face, you wouldn't want to see the result of that, because he will knock someone smooth out.
Yeah.
But you have a guy of that stature, knowing the weight of the situation, knowing that this is a nationally televised game. This is his first start as an LA Laker in Staples Center. That'd be a bad look if he went swinging and went like he was in the club and someone busted someone else up with an Ace of Spades bottle. That's what he's supposed to do as a leader of the league. Let's calm the situation down. Let's remind my boy, wait, you're not for this, man. You know, Ronald trying to get under your skin. Let that go. Let that go, man. It's not the time for this, man. You're bigger than this. That's exactly what LeBron should have done. And for those who say, well, no, he should have stood up for his side. He should have swung. No. When fights like that happen, allegiance is tossed out the window. You want to diffuse that situation as quickly as possible. Whether you do it with your own player or you do it with the opposing player. However you diffuse it is how you diffuse it.
Yes, no, that's very true. I definitely agree with that. People saying that he should have, not, if he was going to break it up, he should have grabbed Rondo and not Chris Paul. You're just trying to grab whoever you're closest to. And it just happened to be somebody he was very close with. So he knew he's the lone person, like you said, him or Melo is the lone people who can calm Chris Paul down that moment. Talk to him. He's not going, once he sees LeBron right there, he's not going to swing on LeBron. So he knows he could calm him down in that moment. So he did the right thing. So it's like but with LeBron, he's, damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. People are going to criticize him no matter what he does. He can go into a burning building and save 5 people in the building. They're going to ask, why didn't he save them faster? Like, there's going to be something with LeBron every time that people are going to find a way to criticize. It just comes with, being the best in the world and arguably the best of all time. But now let's move on to a little football. Your Houston Texans, quietly on a 4-game winning streak. I don't know if anybody's aware of the fact that they're on a 4-game winning streak, but they are now 4-3 on top of the AFC South. Are the Texans for real?
Not with that offensive line. Not with that offensive line. They have, and this is what's so frustrating to me, being a Texans fan. They have the defensive interior and the linebacking core healthy, because last year they're a little better in the secondary. I mean, the Honey Badger is really doing some things in H-Town, and he is really solidifying that secondary. Wonderful pickup. You can't say anything bad about Deshaun Watson. I mean, he is the exact type of quarterback that team needs. And he is making Will Fuller a star in this league. And come on, DeAndre, you can throw the ball 15 feet away from him. He'll come down with a one-handed snap. That's just how he rolls. what I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing anything from the tight end play and the running game, even though, yes, I'm saying this on the heels of the fact that Lamar Miller got 100 yards against the Jaguars, which is a decent defensive front of their own. That almost has been an anomaly. The running game has been atrocious all year. And I think O'Brien risks Watson too much. And if you doubt that, look at that game that they played Sunday night 2 weeks back against the Cowboys, where, and I do not fault the Cowboys for it because I would probably coach my linebackers to do the same thing. When Watson rolled out and he ran, a couple of Cowboys linebackers gave him remember me shots before he sailed out of bounds. And I don't want my quarterback to be hurt, but you have to remind your quarterback. You have to remind quarterbacks. Wait, you may be athletic, but if you act as though you're going to be one of us, we're going to hit you like you're one of us. That's not what you want, and that's the one thing that I'm not liking about O'Brien. He's the head coach of the Texans. He's putting Deshaun Watson in too much harm too readily, and I don't think they're real. Now, do I think they can win the AFC South? Yes, I think they can win the AFC South. They did let a game in Nashville get away from them. Otherwise, they'd be 5-2 instead of 4-3. And then you look at the 4-game winning streak outside of Sunday's game, where they actually did control that game. You know, you're dealing with an overtime victory against the Colts, an overtime victory against the Cowboys at home, and a touchdown interception by Jonathan Joseph with less than 2 minutes to go to win the game by a touchdown over the Bills. So we're not talking about what we've seen with the Rams just putting up points at will on teams. The Texans have struggled to score, but the defense has come to play, and I'm happy to see that. And I think if the defense can remain healthy and the offense can catch up itself and actually be committed to running the ball better, they can become more and more of a contender. But as of right now, no, they're not.
It's very interesting that you said that they're not for real, but they could win the AFC South. And the AFC South for years has been the division that we looked at and laughed at as the joke of the league. And I thought this year would be way different. You think about Jacksonville last year going to the AFC Championship game. I picked Houston to improve a lot this year, you know, with a healthy J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney in that defense, Deshaun Watson being healthy. You know, the Colts having Andrew Luck back. The Titans are just the Titans. They have talent there, but they find ways to lose. We'll definitely get into that a little later on here. But the division as a whole has gone back to being a joke, and you just wonder how. You know, but we'll definitely get into that. But with the Texans, I do agree that they can win the AFC South because Jacksonville is struggling, like I mentioned. The Titans, you know, find ways to lose, and the Colts just don't have enough talent around Andrew Luck. So I definitely agree there. You make some really good points about Deshaun Watson always being in danger of getting hit. He literally couldn't fly to the last game because he played with a bruised lung, which, you know, for precautionary reasons, they didn't want him flying, so he had to take a bus ride to the last game just to play. So he's definitely feeling the effects of always being out there getting hit, and it has to change. So yeah, it's tough to gauge how good they really are because, like you mentioned, a couple of those wins they got because of bad coaching decisions. You look at Dallas and what they did when they beat them, and Coach Garrett making his decisions, and the Colts, you know, going for it on that fourth down instead of putting the ball away and getting a tie. They went for the win in a situation where it was very unlikely for them to win, and pretty much gave the Texans a win there with the field goal at the end. So you can easily say they could easily be 5-2, or they could easily be, you know, 2-5 right now. So it's a very tough situation to gauge. So let's move on to the NBA. I wanted to get a few takeaways from the opening week of the NBA. So we're going to each do 3 takeaways. We'll alternate. I want to get your first takeaway from opening week of the NBA season.
I think I might steal your thunder on this one. And no, I'm not talking about OKC. Your boys, the Pelicans, they're for real. I mean, the way their offense flows, my jaw was dropping. And they play impressively. I really like the way they play. I mean, they put on an exhibition against Houston that was like, wow. You put 130 on them. Not saying that the Rockets are the greatest defense in the world, because they're not. Because hey, we're dealing with a team coached by Mike D'Antoni. Our defense is basically not going to be a primary option for them. Still, though, NBA team, you score 130 points, you're doing something, and then they followed it up by almost scoring 150 against the Kings. I am amazed at how well. Not just how Davis is playing, but Miritich. And Randall is a great fit with them. I'm my jaw to the floor. That's been the most impressive thing for me in the NBA the first week.
Yeah, I'm very happy with how the Pelicans are playing. Huge Pelicans fan. Anthony Davis, he said he's going for MVP this year. You definitely can see it. Miritich is on a contract year. You definitely can see that as well. He's out here balling, trying to get that money. Drew Holiday, one of the best two-way players in the league. Julius Randle, coming off the bench, balling. He's right now averaging like 16 and almost 10 rebounds a game. Absolutely killing it. They got the Clippers tonight, which is a underrated team. So it's a tough game for them tonight against the Clippers in LA. Or it might be in New Orleans. But it's a tough game against the Clippers either way. We'll see how they do in that matchup. But that definitely was one of my takeaways. So we can go on to your next one.
Let's see the next one. It's amazing how people love the Lakers, but they don't say it. I mean, just think about how this week has gone. I mean, we had the Celtics come up the gate strong against the Sixers. We had a ring ceremony where you had a reversible ring that the Warriors got, and they are the best team in the league. There is no question about that. There's still no debate about that. And they have proven that still to this moment. But the talk has been about LeBron in LA. And not just LeBron in LA, but LeBron as a Laker. LeBron in the purple and gold. It's almost as if the season, and I'm not saying it's because I'm a Rockets fan, it just was the feel of it. It almost seems as if the season didn't truly begin until Saturday night. And that seemed to be the game that kicked it off for just about every NBA fan outside of those who are hardcore about their team or hardcore about the sport. And it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how people love LeBron and how people love the Lakers so much. Now, I'm not a big Lakers fan, but it's just amazing how the love of both entities are so pervasive.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. As part of it, I understand it's a big market. LeBron's the best player in the league, has been for the past 10 years. So I understand why it gets so much attention. The one thing that bothers me, like take for instance the first game they play against the Blazers. They go play against the Blazers, they lose. But if you watch the highlights and you didn't see the actual stat sheet, you would have thought
all Lakers highlights.
Yeah, you would have thought the Lakers won by 20 points. And I'm like, the Blazers win this game or not? Like, can we get some Damian Lillard highlights, some CJ McCollum love, something? Like, it was all Lakers highlights. And I'm like, okay, well, good thing I didn't just watch the highlights, because I would have been out here talking about how the Lakers look so great in their first game. So I get it. ESPN's going to play the hits. Like, they're like a DJ at the club. They're going to play the top 40, what people want to hear. So it's obviously what people want to see is the Lakers and LeBron with the Lakers. As much as people say they don't want to, like you said, people either love the Lakers or love LeBron, or they love to hate the Lakers and love to hate LeBron. So either way, you want to see them. Is it either to hate watch or to love watch? Either way, you're going to watch. So ESPN and Fox and all the other big stations are going to talk about that, because that's what the consumer wants, even though the consumer can act like they don't want it. Like, for example, there was ESPN posted a highlight of Kawhi Leonard. Like, he dunked the ball, and he caught it with his left hand and palmed it before it touched the ground, like, which is very freakish. You have to have really big hands to do that. So they just posted a 5-second clip saying how freakish Kawhi is. And every comment on the post was either talking about how LeBron couldn't do that or could do that. And then one guy posted on there, I saw a very smart comment. He was like, if you read these comments, you can see why ESPN always talks about LeBron. Anytime they try to show anything else, you guys bring it back to LeBron. So I need people to not complain about it, because obviously it's what you want to see. But I do need ESPN and other big stations that do highlights just a little more balance. If they lose the game, let's not get a full 3-minute montage of what the Lakers did in a loss, like the other team was not there playing. So just a little more balance would help me out there. What is your third takeaway?
My third takeaway is I'm so glad LeBron's out of the Eastern Conference, because we're going to see some really good action now. It's going to be a literal dogfight in that conference between the Raptors, the Celtics. If the 76ers can get out of their own way and actually play better, I would like them to. Bucks. And then quiet, all in the corners, the Pacers. That's going to be a dogfight. That conference is actually going to receive such love from the fact that you have an even playing field that we're really going to appreciate that conference again like we haven't since, I hate to say it, since before the Capitals drafted LeBron in 2003. And, yeah, I mean, the West is still tough, but besides the fact that you pretty much know who the king still is, and I'm not talking about LeBron, you pretty much know who the king of the NBA and the Western Conference is. They reside out in Oakland, will soon be in San Francisco next year, and they wear blue and gold. That's them. Those are the kings of the NBA and the kings of the West. The East, they'll fight for the crown. It's going to be lethal, and I'm all for it. All 7 of these months to come, I am for who's going to be the king of the East. I'm loving that.
I definitely agree with you there. My third takeaway is on one specific team in the Eastern Conference. The Toronto Raptors, man, at 4-0 right now, they look like they could be true title contenders. I think a lot of people forgot how great Kawhi Leonard is. And
yes, great.
Yes, and watching these first few games, man, you see it on the defensive end, offensively. Like last night, for example, there was a lot of plays where he just went ISO. Like he had a Roy Jones, I almost forgot moment where he was just like, okay, I almost forgot how good I am. I can just isolate, hit you with the cross, pull-up jumper, 3, push-up mid-range. His game is, there's no weaknesses in Kawhi's game. The only thing you probably could point to if you really want to be, nitpicky, you could say maybe he isn't the best playmaker. He doesn't, isn't like a LeBron when it comes to passing the ball, but who is, So for Kawhi to join a team that was already first in the Eastern Conference last season, which we forget because of the way they went out in the playoffs against LeBron getting swept. So that team already has a good foundation there. They won almost 60 games last year. You go from having DeMar DeRozan, who's a very good player, as your best player, to getting a top 5 player in the league as your best player. You also add Danny Green, who's a great 3-and-D guy, somebody who can shoot over 40% from 3 and be a pretty good defender on the perimeter. With Kyle Lowry, who's a great defender as well. So you think about that defensive lineup, and those guys can score points. That team, like I picked Boston to come out the East, but I might be starting to rethink that. Because this Toronto team is looking mean, man. But like you said, that East is going to be a dogfight.
Same with me. I had the Celtics coming out the East, but when I saw them play the Celtics last week, I had to do a double take. I'm like, I might have to eat crow on this one come May, because if this Raptors team can carry itself into the playoffs that way and not be like how they performed in past playoffs, past Aprils and early Mays, yeah, gave a whole ton of team headaches all throughout the season. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, there's a lot of great storylines right now in the NBA. If you're not watching NBA, you're doing it wrong. So many great storylines right now. And like you said, with LeBron being out of the East, it makes the Eastern Conference just so open. And now we get to appreciate those teams so much more. Oh, man. Tomorrow night we got Bucks-Philly, which is a big-time matchup of two teams that could come out the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
So it's crazy. Even the earlier game tomorrow, we have Hawks versus Dallas. Now, both of those teams are not going to be contenders, but you have two rookies in Luka Doncic and Trae Young. Trae Young the other night just dropped 35 and 10 assists. So you have so many storylines and so many great players right now. I'm a huge NBA fan, man. I just love where the league is going right now. But now let's move on to another league, which is already in a great space and doing great things. Let's recap Week 7 of the NFL schedule. Thursday night, we had the Broncos man, those are old school butt whooping. I'm talking about 1977. Your mama tell you go pick a switch off the tree. Blood naked butt whooping that the Broncos gave the Cardinals. 45-10. The Broncos are now 3-4. The Cardinals are 1-6. Case Keenum went 14 for 21, 161 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Lindsey, the running back, had 14 carries for 90 yards and 1 touchdown. And Emmanuel Sanders had 6 receptions for 102 yards and 1 touchdown. That's crazy to think about the fact that Case Keenum only had 161 yards total, and 102 went to Sanders. Josh Rosen, rough day. It's going to happen. He's a rookie. 21 for 39, 194 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 2 of which were returned for touchdowns. David Johnson, I feel like his talent is getting wasted, especially this year with that offense. That was 14 carries, but only for 39 yards. What were your takeaways from this matchup?
That's one of them. David Johnson, such a talent, and unfortunately, we're not seeing it unfurl itself, and that's heartbreaking for me because, man, I love running backs. I love multiple purposed running backs. That's David Johnson, but he's not getting a chance to spread his wings. The thing that really stood out for me, Case Keenum and the amount of attempts he threw. I want Case Keenum to throw 21 passes. I want him to throw that because that means that the Broncos are doing what they're supposed to do well, which is run the ball. Now, I'm not saying that Keenum is a bad quarterback. He has skills, but he's not the type that you're supposed to have him throw 40, 45, 50 times. You have him throw those key passes, one or two key plays that he can make with his arm, and you let the running game take care of it, and then you hand the game to the defense, and you can have Chubb and Miller get after the QB, which, well, that happened because they knocked Rosen out. So that's what you want. I mean, if I was Vance Joseph, I would actually tell my team, now that's how you play. From now on, I want you to play that way. Sorry, I'm channeling Will Smith. But this is the type of game that the Broncos need to play. And if they want to be players in the NFL and in the AFC from this point forward, this is the template for them. They could not have played better.
Definitely. Like you said, the games where Case Keenum has had to throw the ball 40-plus times, they haven't looked good. This is the recipe for them. Create turnovers, run the ball. Case Keenum's there for those key throws, like you said. For the next matchup, this was in London. So if you on the West Coast, it was 6:30 in the morning, woke up, football was already on. As the LA Chargers defeated the Tennessee Titans 20-19. The Chargers are now 5-2. The Tennessee Titans are 3-4. Marcus Mariota went 24 for 32, 237 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. Deion Lewis had a really big game, 13 carries for 91 yards, also had 64 yards receiving. Phillip Rivers, he went 19 for 26, 300 and 6 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Tyrell Williams, 4 receptions, 118 yards, and 1 touchdown. But of course, the big story from this game, Tennessee Titans, second half looked like they're dominating the game. They go in for what we would think is the game-tying drive, but they decide to go for the win and go for 2. And they get 2 chances at it. First time there's a penalty called, the ball gets put on the 1-yard line, And instead of maybe doing a straight up smash mouth run play or even a run pass option, they go with doing a straight pass play with Marcus Mariota at the 1 yard line. Doesn't work out and they lose the game. Do you think Tennessee made a mistake by going for it in that situation?
Considering the fragile confidence of that team, yes, I believe Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Titans, I believe he made a mistake in having them try to go for the win there. I would say, like you said, they were wresting the momentum away from the Chargers. I would keep that momentum going. I would have gone for the extra point, tie the game, send it in overtime, and then take my chances because it looked like the defense was starting to get their legs under them, and it looked like they were getting confidence to stop the Chargers. And like you said, the one thing that I haven't seen in a long time from the Titans happen, they actually found a running game, and I really believe that's what they should have done. They should have taken a chance in overtime. Heck, they did this before. Earlier this year, they beat the defending champs the same way. They were down 7 points. They scored a touchdown. They kicked an extra point. They went on overtime. They scored a touchdown there after the Eagles scored a field goal. So why would you take the extra time away? And why would you take the momentum away from wanting to roll the dice and say, okay, let's end the game early? No, I think that was a bad decision, and it came back to bite them.
So I wasn't upset with the decision to go for two, but I did not like the play call at all. If you're going to go for two in that instance, play action. If you don't believe you can get that 1 yard with your offensive line, at least do the play action where you can maybe have a tight end roll out after you do the heavy play action. So a lot of times you'll see that play. The Saints do it a lot where they'll do the play action and then they'll have the tight end sneak out and he'll get wide open because everybody's diving in to stop the run. Do something like that. You have a couple of options on that one. Do maybe a bootleg with Marcus Mariota out of the play action where he can run or pass. I felt like they just limited themselves in that moment when they shouldn't have. And Marcus Mariota, as improved as he has been, still isn't the best passer in certain situations. So why put him in that situation where it's going to be condensed? Because you got 1 yard, so you can play a zone and pretty much cover the whole end zone. So you have very confined spaces to pass it in. And Marcus Mariota isn't Drew Brees, Tom Brady, can put it in very accurate places that you need to in that situation. So I felt like he put him in a bad spot there going forward with that play. But Tennessee definitely is in the race for the AFC South. Like we talked about earlier, that division's wide open. For the next matchup, we had the New England Patriots defeat the Chicago Bears 38-31. The Patriots are now 5-2. The Bears are 3-3. Tom Brady went 25 for 36, 277 yards, 3 TDs, 1 pick. James White, 40 rushing yards, 57 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Mitchell Trubisky went 26 for 50, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Had 81 yards rushing. Trey Burton was his main receiver. The tight end had 9 receptions for 126 yards and 1 touchdown. So I'm going to give my take first, and you tell me if I'm being too harsh on Trubisky here. So I posted that Tim Tebow should be upset right now. Tim Tebow watching Trubisky, if he is, I don't know if he watches the NFL, I know he's a college analyst, but if he's watching the NFL and he watches Trubisky and he sees Trubisky out there for most of this game not completing 50% of his passes. He finished with over 50%. For most of the game, he was under 50% completion rate. Missing people by 10 yards. Like, when he's missing people, it's by a wide margin. Like, when Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, those guys, and they miss somebody, it's like right off the fingertips. It's like, it was 1 yard too far. Just a couple inches too far. When Trubisky misses people, you see it right away. Like, as soon as he throws, you're like, he overthrew that one. Not accurate. His pocket presence isn't the best. Very athletic. When he takes off running, he's very good. He had some good passes in the fourth quarter. Now, a lot of these yards came on a Hail Mary at the end that got stopped at the 1 yard line. But when I compare Trubisky to Tebow, am I being too harsh?
I won't say you're being too harsh, but there has been instances where Trubisky has actually looked like the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers. Just look at that game he played against the Bucs, where he threw for 6 touchdowns, and I might be wrong with the completions, but I think he may have had only like 4 or 5 incompletions the whole game. So he has the ability to be an NFL caliber quarterback. I never saw Tebow get to that level, but I totally understand why you would say that, because the moments of seeing that type of Mitchell Trubisky is few and far between, because we see this, or we see in the opener against the Packers on the road, we see, and they're on the, I think, Packers 10. So they run a play. There is a lane for Trubisky to either run through or pass. And the guy and the receiver's holding up his hand. He's like 5 yards in the end zone. He does not throw to him. And there was no defender that could have closed the gap fast enough for him to not throw that pass. So I get what you're saying. There is still some development that Trubisky needs to have in order to become elite, or at least in order to become serviceable. But yeah, he has to rely on his legs a little more than he should. And we see glimpses, but it's not fully realized. So I do agree with you. I do agree with you there.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm rooting for him. I just see a lot of similarities to Tebow there, but like you mentioned, he did have the game against the Bucs. Now the Bucs don't have the best defense this year, but he did have a really good game against them, where he passed 6 touchdown passes. Now for the next matchup, we had the Colts dominate the Buffalo Bills, 37-5. Both teams are now 2-5. Derek Anderson, his first time seeing him play in a while, he went 20 for 31, 175 yards and 3 interceptions. And for the Colts, Andrew Luck went 17 for 23, 156 yards, 4 touchdowns. Marlon Mack, 19 carries for 126 yards and 1 touchdown. I don't have much to say about this game. I think it's 2 bad teams, and Buffalo just played horrific in this matchup. What is your takeaway from this one?
That seemingly the Bills defense seems to have ebb and flows. They can play wonderful, and then they have games like this, and they have games like they did in Baltimore at the beginning of the season, where they couldn't stop a nosebleed. But it's great to see that Derek Anderson is a better version of Nathan Peterman. and if I'm the Colts, I want to see the Andrew Luck that we have seen Sunday. And I want that, and that is something I have been crying about for the Colts to develop ever since they drafted Luck. And if they can maintain having a running game like that, and having Luck be the dynamic guy behind center that can lead the team and not necessarily need to throw for 300 yards every single game and take that pressure off of them, the Colts can go somewhere. But those are rare performances because that team is not all that good.
Yeah, very true. Like a lot of wide receivers out there that we haven't heard of, that were undrafted. Like you said, this running performance was very rare. Hopefully they get some talent around Luck pretty soon. For the next matchup, we talked about your Texans a bit earlier as they defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars 20-7. Texans are now 4-3. Jacksonville is 3-4. Deshaun Watson went 12 for 24, 139 yards, 1 touchdown. Lamar Miller, like you mentioned earlier, had 100 rushing yards in this game and 1 touchdown. The crazy thing for me in this game, Blake Bortles got benched. Blake Bortles is a quarterback, but Blake Bortles still led Jacksonville in rushing yards. That's not good. It's not good at all. So we already talked about Houston. What did you take away from this matchup for Jacksonville?
For the matchup as a whole, I will say that the only thing I'll say about the Texans for this one is O'Brien actually did his best to take care of Watson in the game plan. So I was happy to see that they only ended up getting 1 sack on him. So that was good. That was promising to me. Now on the other end, where do I begin? I think you're starting to see a defense that's starting to not be all that confident. All the bravado that they had. Just think about when they were at home against the Patriots and Bortles threw for 200 yards in the first half. you're not seeing the same team there that you saw Sunday, are you? You're not. I mean, that team was full of swagger, full of bravado, because they were then saying, you know what, that game we played in January in Foxborough, that was a fluke. We can play and beat this team. We can beat the defending AFC champions. Watch how we handle it. And they did, but the bravado that we saw 5 weeks ago is not there now. And you're seeing it. You're seeing it on the field. You're seeing it on the sideline. They're griping at each other. They're griping at the players are griping at coaches. And, I mean, I'm taking the fan out of me. I'm just going analyst here. That's disheartening to see. You don't want to see the players get at one another. You don't want to see the players get at coaches, because that's a telltale sign that the players are not believing in the system. And when that happens, the spiral gets faster downward. And then when you can actually replace Bortles with Cody Kessler, former Browns quarterback, and he actually does better. That's horrible. And like you said, and I really do think the magic elixir for them is Leonard Fournette. I really believe this team is offense, defense, special teams, all of them, head coaches. They are missing Mr. Fournette. They're missing him in the backfield because he, for whatever reason, is that settling presence for everybody. It's almost as if he settles Bortles down, he settles the play calling down, he settles the defense down, and they seem to be locked in more focused. But that presence gone, like you said, it leads having the leading rusher for the Jaguars to be Bortles. And like you said, in this game and with the Patriots-Bears game, when you have the quarterback leading rushing, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, definitely not a good thing, especially when he didn't play the whole game. Fournette is the answer. You get Fournette, time of possession is better, your defense isn't on the field as much, just makes everything run better. So they definitely need Fournette to come back. For the next matchup, we had the Detroit Lions defeat the Miami Dolphins 32-21. Detroit is now 3-3. Miami is 4-3. Matthew Stafford went 18 for 22, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kerryon Johnson definitely did a good job of carrying on with 19 carries, 158 yards in this matchup. Brock Osweiler didn't play bad. 22 for 31, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. For me, my takeaway is you give Matthew Stafford a running game, it changes everything for Detroit. Kerryon Johnson being able to carry the load, it opens up play action. It just makes everything easier for Stafford. The defense isn't on the field as long, like we mentioned earlier with Jacksonville, how that would change for them. Miami, just very inconsistent. But Detroit may have found their identity. It may be a team to watch out for in the NFC North. What did you take away from this matchup?
You see that game they played Sunday, that's the game they played against the Patriots. And if the Lions can keep playing this type of game, this type of style, not make Stafford throw 45 times a game, which they have been doing and getting away with for the last 5 years, I'm with you. They could be a major player in the NFC North. And it is such a big difference to have Kerryon Johnson in the backfield. Here's a stat for you. Before that Patriots game, when Kerryon, my wayward son, got 100 yards against the Patriots, do you know the last time they had a 100-yard rusher?
Was it Reggie Bush?
That's the guy who had it. Do you know when that was?
No, I don't remember when.
Thanksgiving Day, 2013.
It's a long time.
So almost 5 years. Yeah, almost 5 years without a 100-yard rusher in a game. And now Kerryon has had 2 in the season. So that just tells you how huge of a presence a running back, and you said it perfectly, how huge of a presence a running back has for a quarterback that's talented as Matthew Stafford. But now it's not all on his right arm. It's not all on his right shoulder. It is all about if he can make sure that he can guide his team correctly and put them in place. Make a couple of key plays. If I got a winning on my arm, I can do it, but I don't have to go into the huddle every single time and think that I got to do it on my arm. And that's what I'm seeing more and more with this team. And Matt Patricia, the head coach of the Lions, he's focusing this team, and it's a long way from that 48-17 thumper that they took to the Jets at home. They are looking really solid. And kudos to Brock Osweiler. He actually is learning how to be an NFL quarterback, which is shocking to me. But the Lions, I love how they looked Sunday.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. They look pretty good. And speaking of the aforementioned Jets, they lost to the Minnesota Vikings 37-17. The Vikings are now 4-2-1. The Jets are 3-4. Kirk Cousins went 25 for 40, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns. Latavius Murray, 15 carries, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns. Adam Thielen, definitely making his case for being the best receiver in the league this year. 9 receptions for 110 yards, 1 touchdown. The 7th straight game with over 100 yards for Adam Thielen. Sam Darnold, he's going to have these rookie games where it just looks rough. And that running game wasn't there for the Jets, and he had to throw, and he did not succeed. He went 17 for 42, 206 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. So for Minnesota, do you think Minnesota is starting to find their way into being that upper echelon of the NFC right now?
I think they are. And the reason why I say I think they are, instead of I know they are, they're winning games. But I'm not liking how they're winning, for the exception of Thielen getting off and doing his thing. I'm not liking how they're winning because I don't want to see Kirk Cousins having to throw that many times in the game. They need to have that running game going. They need it. It is important for them because when they get to November, December, and they get to play teams like the Packers again, when they get to play the Bears, because they still have to play the Bears twice, when they play those teams that can ground you, and you have to rely on that ground game, and you get in those outdoor conditions and the cold conditions, you can't win the ball that many times and expect to win. Not against teams that are defensively stalwart. The Jets aren't that team, as they proved in this game. But this is the thing. You have a defensive-minded head coach in Zimmer. The goal is to have that defense not be on the field for that long. If I can get that defense to be on the field only between 20 and 25 minutes, I think the shot for the Vikings to do something great is better. But if they are on the field longer than that, that spells trouble for the Vikings. And the only way they can do that is if they do ball control. If they can control the ball on offense, that would help that defense out because that defense is full of playmakers. Full of playmakers. So put them in more 3-and-out situations, have that defense rest, mow the yards with the time of possession, chew up that clock, and you can still hit them downfield with a couple of big bombs. You can still do that. But I want to see that defense only be on the field 20 to 25 minutes because if so, that's a big time defense, and they will get after you and they will surprise you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's something that just left me bewildered is how they are not able to run the ball this year. Last year they had Case Keenum and were able to run the ball. You would think with Kirk Cousins and the threat of the passing the ball downfield that the run game will be even more open this year. So I understand why the running game hasn't been there. Of course, Dalvin Cook not being healthy hurts, but even last year after he tore his ACL, they were able to run the ball still. So this year, I don't understand why they're not able to run the ball, which, like you said, hurts the defense because they're out there longer. But we'll see, especially this week. They got the Saints this week, so we'll see, if it affects them against a team with such a good offense going forward. Now, for the next matchup, before we get into the matchup, we have to talk about something that happened pregame. I'm very interested in getting your take on this. So we're going to get into the Panthers versus Eagles. But before the game happened, there were words exchanged between Panthers safety and Philadelphia safety, Eric Reid and Malcolm Jenkins. Now, Eric Reid, for people who don't know, was the first person to publicly support Colin Kaepernick. Took a knee with him, still ride with him to this day. Has with Cap t-shirts and hats and everything else, showing that he's really with the cause of what Colin Kaepernick was trying to bring attention to when he started the protest. Malcolm Jenkins went about it a different way. He didn't kneel. He put up a fist. He has made a lot of differences in the community. He has an organization, and because he went about it a different way, the NFL sided with his organization and did give money to his organization to try to make change happen. Now, Eric Reid didn't think that Malcolm Jenkins went about it in a, I guess, honorable way. Said that Malcolm Jenkins is a sellout and that he co-opted Colin's movement for his organization to profit off of. So my question to you is, do you think Eric Reid was wrong for going about showing his disapproval with Malcolm Jenkins in this way?
Yeah, I think he is. Am I saying that he's wrong for what he said? Not really. But he's wrong with how he went about it. If you're going to have that type of conversation with somebody, do it with him in private. You know, have that conversation with him where you two could be men. It doesn't have to come to blows. You can be honorable and you can have disagreements. And you can have two differing viewpoints of the same coin. You know, but to openly say that, to have Reid openly say that, that really put a bad taste in my mouth. And here's why I say that. To me, I sort of look at it, and I'm not saying that these two are on the same level as the two people I'm going to mention, but it's sort of similar. You know, 50 years ago, you had Martin Luther King Jr., you had Malcolm X. Two guys who believed in, you know, two different religions, but they believed in the same thing. They believed that black people needed to have their conditions be better, and they needed to have them be better now. One preached nonviolence, one preached violence. Well, in this case with Reid and Jenkins, you have one who is preaching a more militant stance in Reid, and you have one in Jenkins who wants to do it in a way where you can converse with the quote enemy, close quote, but you can get better, you can get further, better, faster if you continue to have a dialogue. And that's where the rubber met the road to me. And I think with Reid, he's an intelligent guy. I think if he were to have had that conversation with Jenkins away from the cameras, away from the field, and it's just the two of them, I think he would have understood Jenkins a little better. And that he is doing his best to have a dialogue where he can make change the way he can make change. Because Reid's going to make change the way he does. It doesn't mean that the two of them have to clash. But the way Reid came across, that almost is what you think would have to happen. But do I think Malcolm Jenkins is a sellout? No. I just think that he wanted to approach it in a different way. And he still protested. He protested similar to, and shout out to him with the fist, protested similar to Tommy Smith and John Carlos, the 50th anniversary of their Black Power salute at the 1968 Olympiad came this past week. And that's how Jenkins decided to protest himself. And that's fine. That's fine. But you don't have to railroad somebody for it. And I think that's the problem I have with Reid. And I love Reid. I love what he's doing because he's done a whole ton. Besides just being the guy who is continuing onward on the field, Colin Kaepernick stance, and doing stuff off the field. He's doing wonderful things. But you have to look at it this way. When you have a power base in the NFL owners, and they see two, and I hate to put it this way, they see two black guys up down there, they're fighting. Think about a figure like Jerry Jones, one who's close to being an 80-year-old guy, one who is from the South, one who has certain ways that are entrenched. And I hate to say it, a smile would be on his face. Because he's like, look, two Negroes can't get along. That's how it always is. And that's why this fight is going to stall because they can't ever get on one accord. That's the problem I have.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. When I saw them, going back and forth from the field, I was like, oh man, no. Because now you're not going to ever have one group of people be on one accord. Everybody has different personalities, everybody has different views. But when it comes to people trying to make change, those views and opposing thoughts should be talked about in private, like you said. You could easily get Malcolm Jenkins' number, and he could DM him on any social media platform and do it in private and see where he's coming from. With Malcolm Jenkins, he went about a different way and got money to make change. And to be honest, we know money is needed to make true change. So when you're able to get nearly $100 million from the NFL to assist in making that change, how can we be upset with that? Especially if he's doing the right things. Now, if he's not using the money in the right way, that's different. Now, if you have proof of that and he's not, doing that in the right way, show us that proof, then we'll still like, okay, we see why he's so angry. But if you're just upset about the way he went about it, which you have the right to be, do it in private. See where he's coming from, like you stated, and don't do it for public consumption. Because like you said, there's going to be people who are going to be against the changes that Eric Reid and Malcolm Jenkins are trying to make just off their history. And they're going to see this and say, see, they can't even agree on what they're trying to do. Why should I take them seriously when they're arguing amongst each other? And we don't need those people to make the change, but it does help if we show a united front when trying to make this change happen. So I definitely agree with you that I don't agree with what Reid did and how he did it. And I don't think Malcolm Jenkins is a sellout because he's trying to make change. He just, like you said, going about it in a different way. And he did it in a way where he got true money, like real money, like almost $100 million is real money to get change done. So hopefully he can somehow, him and Colin could work together one day and do more things. But it doesn't have to be this type of beef, especially shown in public.
And let's get this misnomer out the way. If you get money, you're not a sellout. Because in this day and age, especially with the National Football League as well, money talks. Everything else walks. That's just the nature of the beast in this world. I mean, heck, back in 1964, after Martin Luther King Jr. had a Nobel Peace Prize ceremony in Norway, he was going to come back to Atlanta. They were going to host a dinner for him, but the whites there didn't want to have a part. They didn't want to have a part with the dinner. But it took Coca-Cola's CEO at the time to say, "You all going to attend this dinner, and you all are going to be happy that this guy won this award. And if you all don't attend, I'm gonna pull Coca-Cola out of Atlanta." And that would have been a big blow to their economic nature in that city. The economy in Atlanta would have suffered hard. So the who's who and the elite came to that dinner, and Martin Luther King raised money for it. So money is a big thing. So that's why I didn't say anything bad about Malcolm Jenkins when he got that. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. Now I hope he can build off of it, and seemingly he has. But I'm impressed. So yeah, you don't have to be poor, cry for it to be a revolutionary. Not today.
It was very well said. So now let's go into a little football as Carolina defeated Philadelphia 21-17. Carolina is now 4-2. Philadelphia is 3-4. The defending Super Bowl champions under 500 after 7 games. Cam Newton, he went 25 for 39, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 49 yards rushing. Devin Funchess had 6 receptions for 62 yards and 1 touchdown. Carson Wentz went 30 for 37, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zach Ertz had 9 receptions for 138 yards. Now, I wasn't watching this game because I was watching the Bears and Patriots game, But I was keeping an eye on it because I had Philadelphia's defense on my fantasy team. And I was excited. You know, they're shutting out Carolina. They're up 17-0 throughout most of the game. And next thing I know, they're down 21-17. It's like, how did this happen? What went wrong? Someone call the sheriff because obviously there's a crime happening because they just stole this game from Philadelphia. So my question to you is, should Eagles fans be worried about their Eagles?
I would say yes, but it depends on the opponent. And when I look at their schedule, the next two opponents, they play the Jaguars and the Cowboys. Now, in my opinion, if they can't beat either one of those teams, then if I were Eagles fan, I would panic. I would say, "Oh my gosh, this is not 2017." Well, they still gotta say this is not 2017, but yeah, that would give them reason to say, "Oh my, whatever you're doing, scrap it and do something else." Otherwise, we're saying 2018 is a lost cause.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I wouldn't say they should throw in a panic towel yet, but it's coming close.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's not time to panic, but it's time to sit next to the panic button. Like, just be there and be ready to press it when that time comes. Because to lose that lead after pretty much dominating that game, to lose a lead like that is very worrisome. You mentioned the next two games, they should win. Like, they have the talent there. They should win those games. But you're going against Jacksonville in London, which can be tricky. Jacksonville, for some reason, plays great in London. Blake Bortles has his best games there for some reason. So maybe you never know there. Then the Cowboys is a rivalry game, division game. That could be tough as well. So they could very well be 3-6 in the next few weeks. And then you know for sure you're holding on to the panic button at that point. So, yeah, definitely. In Carolina, they're tricky. You don't know what to think about them. Are they a playoff contender? Are they a Super Bowl contender? Or are they just a team that can get your hopes up for no reason? We just don't know with them. It's very tough to read them right now. But if I was Philadelphia, I would be sitting next to that panic button right now. For the next matchup, we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Cleveland Browns 26-23. Tampa Bay is now 3-3. Cleveland is 2-4-1. Baker Mayfield went 23 for 34, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb had 18 carries for 80 yards, 1 touchdown. Jarvis Landry, 11 receptions, 97 yards, and 1 touchdown. Jameis Winston went 32 for 52, 365 yards, 2 interceptions. He also had 55 yards rushing in this game, which is a little bit uncharacteristic for him to have so many yards rushing. Mike Evans had 7 receptions for 107 yards. This matchup was crazy. Ended up a lot of missed field goals and extra points and all that stuff, but it ended with a 59-yarder going through for Tampa Bay. What are your takeaways from this matchup?
It is rare in NFL you win a game and you throw over 50 passes and you don't throw for a touchdown, you throw picks. Rare. So I will put my cap to the Buccaneers for winning a game where the quarterback threw over 50 attempts and did throw a touchdown, 3 interceptions, and still won the game. I think when I saw, because I didn't get a chance to see the game, but when I saw the highlights from it and the final score from it, I kept thinking, I think the moral victory angle for the Browns is just about over. And I say it from the standpoint of, look at the stat line for Baker Mayfield, and you read it. That's the exact stat line you want him to have. The exact one. You know, he played good, error-free football. That's what you want. And you had your running back, and, well, shout out to Nick Chubb. He's the guy now. Now the Carlos Hyde is now a Jaguar. You know, you had him be the number one guy, the 3-down back. He can feel like he's back in Georgia again. And, you know, things seem to be going fine. And defense got after Winston. They put him to the turf 4 times. So, I mean, all I mean, it's like, okay, defense stepped up when needed, check. Of course, they had a terrible second quarter, but the defense stepped up when needed, check. Baker, he got off and didn't turn the ball over, check. Even though Chubb did get 100 yards, I like that yards per average. I like the effort that he had running out the backfield, check. That should equal a win, but you said it. And they had issues. They had issues with the kicking game. I mean, that 96-12 and 12-9-50 they had against the Ravens at home. The kicker for the Browns. Gosh, LA brought us. I wish you were here. You remind me of the kicker's name. But he had a chance to win the game in regulation and shake the kick. And then the real kick was a knuckler that barely got over the crossbar. So it's unfortunate that it comes down to miscues on special teams for the effort to go awry for the Browns, because they came from far back, got into the game, and could have won it, and that would have been their signature win of the season, and that would have been the okay, the Browns really are for real, because that game they should have lost. They were on the road. They came back from 14 down. They won the game. Okay, this team is for real. Unfortunately, we still have the same old Browns taste in our mouth, and that is what sucks for me.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing with them is they don't know how to end a game in regulation. They're definitely here to work overtime, and it's not like they get paid extra for it. Like, somebody needs to talk to them about their work-life balance. But as far as the Browns, man, they're there. They got the talent. It's a lot of talent on defense, like you mentioned. Talent on offense. Baker Mayfield play like he's supposed to. So when you lose a game like that, it has to feel really, really bad, because you feel like you did everything you're supposed to do. Tampa Bay, they're not that good this year. Jameis Winston is looking like, right now he's getting his chance to prove if he's worth, that fifth-year option, or if he's worth being the guy in the future. He's not really showing it. A lot of turnovers. Someone who just not reading the defense well. So we'll see if he improves throughout the year. But somehow he got a victory in that one, though. For the next matchup, staying in the NFC South, who that said they're going to beat them Saints? As the New Orleans Saints defeated the Baltimore Ravens 24-23. The Saints are now 5-1. That's the 5th win in a row. This matchup was an excellent game between two very good teams. Drew Brees went 22 for 30, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns. Still has not thrown a pick all season. Alvin Kamara had 17 carries for 64 yards, 1 touchdown. Michael Thomas, 7 receptions, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. Also have to give a shout out to Taysom Hill, the third-string quarterback / running back / special teams tackler for the Saints. He does everything. He had 6 carries for 35 yards, some big runs in there. Joe Flacco went 23 for 39, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. John Brown, 7 receptions for 134 yards, 1 touchdown. Man, crazy matchup. Came down to an extra point. And Justin Tucker, for the first time ever, missed the extra point. And the look of shock on his face when that ball swayed to the right outside of the goalpost is something I won't forget. He looked like he saw a ghost when that ball went outside that goalpost. And I definitely understand the shock. Like you said, he never missed one in his career. And the way it just swayed to the side like that, because it was going down the middle at first. And I was getting ready to, get ready for overtime or get ready for the Saints to try to do something those last 20 seconds. And it was just absolutely nuts, the fact that that ball swayed to the right there. What were your takeaways from this matchup?
This was, to me, the game of the week. And I remember saying this to somebody. I said, the Saints must run the ball. There's no ifs, ands, or maybes. They must run the ball. Because in order for them to win this game, they have to control the ball. They have to control the clock. They have to. Because if you give any opportunity for the Ravens to just cook, and they proved it the week before when they sacked Mariota 11 times in Nashville, they controlled the clock. The disparity was like 38 or 37 to 22 or 38 to 22 or 37 to 23 in time of possession. So to me, it was they have to run the ball. They can't be like how Breeze was when he broke the all-time yardage record the week before, when he was just tossing the ball around against the Washington NFL franchise like it was nothing, and only throwing for 365 yards and only having 3 completions. I was like, no, they can't have that type of game. Otherwise, that's a blowout. That's a blowout L. They're gonna walk out of Baltimore with an L. If they have that mentality, they're gonna grind it out and they're gonna pound them. They'll walk out with a victory, and I'll be doggone they did. And what I love about this team, the Saints, is that the Ravens are no joke. The Ravens may be 4-3, but that defense is lethal. And when you give the offense some opportunities, they will take advantage of it. And the Saints bet the challenge, and they came away victors. And they did it by controlling the ball. And Breeze didn't have to have that spectacular game, but to me, this is one of the best stat lines I've seen all year from him. And that is with the gaudy stats he's had before this game. I'll take 22 of 30, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns with no picks, and he only gets sacked 1 time. I will take that. If the team can run the ball almost 40 times, I will take that all day long. And this proves to me that the Saints, they're almost getting into the soul-to-soul category. However do you want it? Do you want us to pass all over you? Do you want us to run all over you? Do you want us to be balanced? However way you want it. We can have the shootout like we did in Atlanta. We can have the grinding out game like we had in Baltimore. It doesn't matter, because we will meet the challenge and we will succeed. And that is what I saw with the Saints. And with the Ravens, what I saw, they had issues running. And credit to the Saints team for being stout. But if they're going to be serious in the AFC North, they've got to get that running game going. I mean, Flacco has an arm, and Flacco did his thing, but you don't want Flacco to do his thing. You want the defense to do that thing. And that is where they fell short in this game. And yeah, I can still say, well, yeah, it's the kicker's, wasn't his fault. It just simply was a matter of, like you said, the kick was online. It just started to drift. But yeah, the running game for the Ravens has to be there. It wasn't in this game. It definitely was for the Saints. And you can say on an average, they only average 3.4 yards a carry. I'll take that when you run the ball 39 times, because that means you're doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the way they switched up the running. Like you had Ingram come in, do some power runs. You had Taysom Hill come in, do some, the read options. He also had one carry out the backfield where we faked the toss to Kamara and then tossed it to him on the other side. We did a lot of different things in the running game to make it successful, even though against the Ravens defense, you're still going to have to grind it out, which they did in this matchup. And one of the areas of weakness you saw in this game was the second cornerback outside of Lattimore. And the Saints made a trade today where they gave up a 4th-round pick in 2019 and a 7th-round pick in 2020 for Eli Apple of the New York Giants, which now of the Saints. What do you think of that move?
It's a necessary move. Now, do I think Eli Apple's the guy? No. In fact, I was having a conversation with somebody earlier where I said, man, if the Saints could get a hold of Patrick Peterson, because he's crying that he wants to be out of Phoenix so bad. I was like, if they can land him, that secondary will be set.
Yeah.
But it's a good stopgap measure, but I still think that the ceiling of the secondary isn't done with the Saints. And the thing is, they got some talent in the secondary. They just have to gel a little more. And if they can just get that one more piece to help solidify that secondary unit, yeah, that defense will be competing with the offense for credit in how huge their run, possibly to the Super Bowl, will be.
It's true. With Patrick Peterson, I don't know if we had what it took to get him, because you think about it, we already traded away our 1st-round pick. We did that last year when we moved up to get Davenport in the draft. So we don't have the first round pick. We gave away the third round pick to get Teddy Bridgewater. So we have a second, the fourth. So you don't know if a second round pick would have been enough to get Patrick Peterson. So I don't know exactly what the Cardinals would ask for, or if the Cardinals are even interested in giving them up. There's been reports out here in Arizona that they're not interested in giving them up. They want to keep them for the years to come when the team does turn it around eventually.
Yeah,
so
let's say with that talent, would you want to give him up?
Exactly, it's a very good point. He's a great cornerback, and from Louisiana, went to LSU. So of course, Saints fans like myself were excited about the rumors. But I do like the move to get Eli Apple because there's been games where the team would literally, wherever Lattimore was, they just went to the other side. Like wherever Lattimore was sticking, they're like, otherwise he was going to have a good day. Like we played Atlanta, literally. First half, Lattimore was on Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley went off, had 3 touchdowns. Second half, we put Lattimore on Calvin Ridley. Next thing you know, Julio Jones getting 90-plus yards in the second half. So you need someone to help out because Lattimore can only stick one side or one person at a time, depending on if he's playing zone or man. So I like the effort to get someone, Eli Apple, who's a former first-round pick, top 10 pick if I remember correctly. Hopefully, I know he's had his problems in New York. Hopefully a change of scenery would be a good thing for him coming to a winning franchise. And we'll see. So I like the move, but I definitely understand wanting Patrick Peterson, but I don't know if we had what it took to get him anyway. For the next
draft picks, I agree with you.
Thank you. And for the next matchup, we had the Washington football franchise defeat Dallas 20-17. Washington is now 4-2. Dallas is 3-4. Alex Smith went 14 for 25, 178 yards, 1 touchdown. Adrian Peterson, found the youth, man. He still got it. 24 carries for 99 yards. Dak Prescott went 22 for 35, 273 yards, 1 touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott, 15 carries for only 33 yards. I had to do like a double take and make sure that was correct, but it is. And Michael Gallup had 3 receptions for 81 yards and 1 touchdown. This game came down to a critical play at the end. They were trying to go for a field goal to tie it up. And there was an infraction called on the long snapper, which left people scratching their head because the long snapper did the same thing he always does, the same routine. Didn't do anything that was out of the ordinary to get the guys to jump off sides. It should have been an offsides or encroachment on the defense. But they called an infraction on the long snapper, making the field goal a little bit longer. Went from 47 to 53, or 52, excuse me. Missed the field goal, dunks off the goal post. Would have been good from 47. But it actually should have been from 42 because the penalty should have been on Washington. But Dallas definitely should have did some other things in this game to win. What are your takeaways from this matchup?
The Cowboys fans better be thankful that they had the opportunity for a game-tying field goal. That was the worst performance of a Cowboys team this year on offense. Defense, they were pretty good. I mean, I'll take the defense performance they had. They only allowed 13 points, so I'll take that. I will take any defense that only allows 13 points because the other 7 came from a Dak fumble that was recovered by a defensive lineman for the Washington NFL franchise. They win it for 6. Defense, great effort. Offense, whew, man. I mean, remember we were talking about that offensive line being the best and possibly the best of all time? Where is that line now? Because there is no sign of it. No sign of it. When your quarterback can compete with your running back for the most amount of yards in the game, that's an indictment on that offensive line. And they put Dak on the turf 4 times. No, you can't have that. You cannot have that. Now for the Washington NFL franchise, this is what you want from Alex Smith. Economical, controlled. He manages the game well. He doesn't make the key mistake. If you need for him to make the key play, he can do it. But if he doesn't have to, he won't. And if he has a running game, that's good. And it seems like that Peterson, like you said earlier, took the youth pill on this game. So it was entertaining. It was an entertaining sold on either team being a contender. Even though the 4-2 record for the Washington NFL franchise is impressive, I'm still not sold on the team. But it looks like that they might be the team to beat in the NFC East. The Cowboys, that offense, man, that offense is atrocious.
Now,
it just is.
Speaking of that atrocious offense, they did try to improve it. They went out and gave up a first-round pick to the Oakland Raiders to get Amari Cooper. Do you think that was a good move?
Yeah, I do think it's a good move. And the reason why I say that is I'm a huge fan of Cooper. I know he's still trying to grow into being an elite NFL wide receiver. But he has the tools to be that. He's young enough, so it's not like they're getting a 34-year-old to get a 24-year-old. They probably would not have gotten the bang for the buck with the first-round pick they would have had come April. You know, they probably would have gotten someone that wouldn't have been quite as talented or could plug in right away and start. So I think that was a good move by the Cowboys. And you might have people say, well, heck, a first rounder? No. But you have to really think. I mean, the guy's a former Pro Bowler, you know, and he's had 2 1,000-yard seasons. So, you know, he has talent. They're not getting a scrub. And whenever you can improve your offense to where your number one receiver is Cole Beasley, I say that's a good move.
Yeah, I like the move. At first, I was like, a first-round pick seems a little steep for Cooper. But like you mentioned, he's only 24 years old. Like, he's literally the same age as Calvin Ridley right now. So you think about getting someone that young who's already proven that he can play. Now, with their struggles, will they be able to use him in the right way? Will they be able to grasp the offense quickly enough to assist in this season? Those are the things that we have to wait and see. But I like the attempt to improve where you know you need to improve at. For the next matchup, we had a really good team go against a really bad team. We had the LA Rams defeat the San Francisco 49ers 39-10. The Rams are now 7-0. San Francisco is 1-6. Jared Goff went 18 for 24, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley, 15 carries, 63 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brandon Cooks, 4 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. CJ Beathard went 15 for 27, 170 yards, 1 touchdown. And Kittle, the tight end, had 5 receptions for 98 yards. I don't have much to say about this matchup. Good team versus bad team. You have any takeaways?
Only one. It's amazing how Sean McVay has posed this team. It's whatever they can do, however they roll. That's how the defense is. That's how the offense is going to roll. And you know, and it wasn't a prolific day for Goff, and it wasn't a prolific day for Gurley either. And he decided to, okay, we'll play ball control, let the defense take it over, and they did. You know, they played ball control, and the defense took over. I mean, 7 sacks. There you go. I mean, hey, this is going to be a defense game, and I'm laughing a little because I heard earlier. I think it was Mike Greenberg of Get Up calling the Rams a paper tiger because they've only beaten the 49ers, the Raiders, and I forgot another team that they've beaten. I can't think offhand right now. But my philosophy has always been and will be, you play with the cards you dealt. You play with the teams that are in front of you. You know, and the Rams have played 7 games, and they're playing a first-place schedule because they won the NFC West last year. So, you know, 7 up, 7 down. I mean, what's there to say? I mean, they're the best team in the league, period. And they're proving it. They got the stout defense, and the offense is getting to the point where Goff now is not making a key mistake, and Gurley can get you those yards when necessary. And they got a good receiver core in Woods, Cooks, and Cook. You know, so this is what you want, and this is how you want it. You know, you couldn't ask for more. And, man, the 49ers miss Garoppolo so bad. Oh, man, they miss him so much.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with everything you said. But there is one team out there that may have something to say about the Rams being the best team in the league, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. as they put a whooping on the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday night. But we've seen Cincinnati on Sunday night before, not perform. So Kansas City won 45-10. They're now 6-1. The Bengals are 4-3. Patrick Mahomes went 28 for 39, 358 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Kareem Hunt had 15 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce had 5 receptions for 95 yards. Andy Dalton, he went 15 for 29, 148 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. AJ Green, he was a lone bright spot with 7 receptions for 117 yards. So is Kansas City this good, or is Cincinnati that bad?
It is a combination of both. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati is that bad first. We were talking about a team that was 4-1 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So they got a chance to prove that they were real. They hosted the Steelers. They had them down 21-20. They let that game slip away. And then 7 nights later, they get a Sunday night stage and they stink up the joint against, to be the best team in the AFC. And they do have a claim on being the best team in the NFL. And they will have that shot later on in the year when they do play the Rams. But the Bengals had 2 opportunities to prove that they aren't frauds. And unfortunately, they proved that they are. And you can't say that you are a competing team if you're going to lay eggs against teams that you have to beat in order to put yourself into the contenders category. Because you got to beat the Chiefs. You got to beat the Steelers. Because you're going to see these 2 teams in January. You got to beat these 2 teams in order for people to take you seriously. They took 2 L's, and people are going to take the Bengals seriously because they just aren't that good, unfortunately. For the exception of AJ Green. That guy's a stud. And Carlos Dunlap. And Geno Atkins. And for the exception of those 3 problems for that whole team. Because it's up and down with every other player on the Bengals. Now, for the Chiefs, what can you say about Mahomes? I mean, the guy has proven in a loss that you can't rattle him. You know, you can corral him, you can rattle him, you can shake him, but he just won't fold. He just won't fold. And he's now had 2 straight Sunday night performances to prove that he is a stud. 40 points in one game, 45 points in another. So this guy's a real deal. He's the real deal. And right now, to me, he is the MVP frontrunner. We're almost halfway into the season. He is the MVP frontrunner. Because I haven't seen another player that has played consistently well all 7 games besides him. And, you know, as for the rest, Hunt's a beast. You know, this was sort of like a game of, like you said earlier about Roy Jones Jr. Yeah, in case y'all forgot. Yeah, we're not the pretty team that can fly around the field with Tyreek Hill and Demetrius Harris and DeMarcus Robinson. We can, you know, and Travis Kelce. We can come and hit you in the mouth too with Kareem Hunt. So, and I love this team, how balanced they are on offense. They are such a balanced offensive team. It is pretty for them. It's pretty to watch them. The issue I have with them is defense. And yeah, putting a team that was in first place in their division, having them only score a touchdown and a field goal, that is impressive. And he did the same in Griffin Jaguars. But the Chiefs have the propensity to simply lay eggs on defense, and that is what scares me about them. But besides that, the Chiefs are that good. They are. They really are.
I definitely agree with everything you just said. Speaking of laying eggs, Monday Night Football. We had the Atlanta Falcons go against the New York Giants. Atlanta won 23-20. They're now 3-4. The Giants are 1-6. Matt Ryan went 31 for 39, 379 yards, 1 touchdown. Julio Jones had 9 receptions for 104 yards, but yet again, not in the end zone. Eli Manning, 27 for 38, 399 yards. I guess you could say it's a throwback performance for him, but I never thought Eli was that good. So he just had a pretty good game, 1 touchdown. Shepard had 5 receptions for 167 yards, and Odell Beckham Jr. finally saw that talent that's there with 8 receptions, 143 yards, and 1 touchdown. I'm going to let you take it away on this one. I see two teams that just aren't that good. How about you?
Could not have said it better. Could not have said it better. Look, I have a whole ton of people in my family who are Falcons fans. Starting with my brother-in-law. The dude will Falcons stuff from head to toe, and he still has a big jersey that he still wears today. So I say this with all the compassion I could about them. I do not like this team. Yeah. I do not like how they go about their offense. I do not like it at all. Because it is Matt Ryan or bust. I don't like that. And yeah, you can give me the excuse of, well, hey, Freeman's out. Well, they still have another stud running back in Coleman, if I can remember.
Yeah.
And they're not giving him the opportunity to tote the rock. I'm sorry, I just don't like the fact when you're going to put your quarterback in a position to say, hey, you're going to wing it 40 times and we're going to win it on your arm. No, I don't like that. And yeah, cool. I'm glad you got Julio. He's a stud and really can ball when necessary. And they got some really good weapons who are potential receivers, Hooper being one of them. I get all of that. But they put their defense in such a bad position by being such a wide open team. And all you got to do is look at two games that they should have won, but because of how they call games offensively, they lost. Both games at home, one against your Saints and one against the Bengals. They had leads in both those games and lost them. Why? Because they just wanted to wing the ball and they put the defense out there for far too long. And you can't win games like that. And you're definitely not going to win a division like that because you got two teams that can defensively, if pushed by the Saints, they can get after you and they can't stop you. And they have and with the Saints, they have an offense that can keep up with you. And so they got to find a way to get a running game. They need a running game because their defense needs as much help as possible because they are a mash unit on defense. And you can't do that. You can't do that if you're just going to wing the ball and win. Now, they won this game, but I don't think this is the prescription they need. They need to run the ball better. Now, as for the soap opera that is the LA Giants, I upset a whole ton of Giants fans when I said that Eli Manning is the most overrated player in the NFL. And people don't get why I say that. I say it because I've never seen anyone who gets more mileage out of 2 Super Bowl wins than he does. Because outside of that and the playoff stretches of 2007 and 2011, what has he done? You'd be hard-pressed to think about it. And people would say, well, he's thrown for over 50,000 yards. Good. I'm glad he's thrown for over that much. So is Warren Moon, but people don't think about him as one of the greatest of all time. They just think of him as a good quarterback. Yeah. And then pretty much a similar thing with Eli Manning. He's good. He's serviceable, but he's not one of those where you just make your jaw drop and say, wow, that's a great quarterback. No. He benefits from being in the number one market in America. That's why he gets the run that he gets. And this is why I'm not getting about the Giants coaching staff. Barkley, in their 34-13 loss against their arch rival Eagles, ran the ball for 130 yards, caught for 99. So that's 229 all-purpose yards. Why did he only carry the rock 14 times in this game? If you know that this is your offensive man, and this is the guy that's going to take pressure off of Manning and take pressure off of OBJ, by the way, give him more than just 14 carries, and don't just settle on the fact that we gave him more touches in the passing game. Cool, that's great. But you didn't bring him in here to be a wide receiver. You brought him to be a running back because you already paid a wide receiver $65 million guaranteed. And let me get to him. 8 receptions, 150 yards, 1 touchdown. Wonderful. That's what you want from a guy who is 5 years, 95 million dollars. Great. That 2-point conversion that he dropped, not so great. So he can't pop off at the mouth and criticize if he's not going to bring any effort to the table. Now, he did in this game, and he didn't talk in this game. But in the prior weeks, he didn't bring that effort, and he brought mouth. And when that happens, more of the focus is on you because you can't slip up. I say, you're calling out drills. You got to be the man to step up yourself. And if you're not, people are going to let you know. And in this game, the only highlight I saw was that 2-point conversion he dropped. That's the only highlight I saw in this game. And that tells you all you need to know about what happened with Monday night in this one between the Giants and the Falcons. That particular play right there. Man, two bad teams going nowhere fast.
I couldn't agree with you more, especially on Eli Manning. For years, I've called him the best average quarterback of all time. And people get so upset when I say that. But he's been average to below average for most of his career, had those 2 great playoff runs that you mentioned, and has been living off that for years. And outside of those 2 playoff runs, no other playoff victories. Has led the league in interceptions 3 times. Never led the league in yards. Never led the league in completion percentage. He's never been top. I would say you could say maybe he was top 10 some years, but never been close to top 5. Just very mediocre. So the best average quarterback of all time, Eli Manning. So that was our recap of Week 7. I appreciate you being so patient with me. I know I'm keeping you long today. So we're going to fly through our picks for Week 8, and then we're going to do a little sports trivia and forgotten players and get out of here today.
All right.
So for Week 8, first matchup we have Thursday night. We have Miami, Houston. I got Houston winning 27-20. Who you got?
I have Houston as well. I just don't see Osweiler playing well back-to-back weeks, and I think their defense is going to get after them.
Definitely agree with that one. Hard to see Brock doing it 3 weeks in a row. Next matchup we have Philly at Jacksonville, but it's in London. But I got Philly winning 23-17. How you see this matchup?
Man, I want to take the Jaguars in this, but the Eagles really need this game. They really need it. And because of that, and the other time they have had this moment where they needed the game and they came through was against the Giants two weeks ago. And I see that same situation. I see the same result. I'm with you, the Eagles. They're going to take this one.
Next one, we have Denver at Kansas City. I got Kansas City 28-14. Who you got?
That's a pretty good score. I'll probably raise it up to 31-14. But yeah, Chiefs are going to handle the Broncos. They're going to sweep them.
Next one, we have Cleveland at Pittsburgh. So I'm just going out on a limb and say it's not going to be a tie this time. I got Pittsburgh winning 30-23. Who you got?
Doggone it, you stole my joke because I was going to say, it's going to be a tie. This is supposed to be the game that Le'Veon Bell comes back. I don't see the Browns going into Hines and doing anything special. So, yeah, I think the Steelers have this one. I think this is their game to lose. And they're on a roll, and I think they can keep that roll going.
We got Washington at the Giants. I got Washington winning 27-20. Who you got?
Yeah, Washington has this one. Even though this is the Meadowlands, Washington has it. This is their game.
Next one, we got Seattle at Detroit. I'm going Detroit in a close one, 24-20. Who you got?
I want to go with the Lions, but I can't. I have to go Seahawks here because I think, even though, yes, this will be a 10 a.m. start on their local time, the Seahawks, I mean, they're veteran enough to where they can adjust. And I think that their defense is starting to wake up. And I think if the game is kept close enough, it'll be just like that game that the Lions played in Dallas. And I see that type of game here. And that's why I picked the Seahawks in this one.
Next one, we got Tampa Bay at Cincinnati. I'm going with Cincinnati to get back on their feet, 27-23. Who you got?
Yeah, I think the Bengals have this one. They're going to bounce back and win. And it's not going to be pretty. I think we're going to see a not so good game from Jameis. I think he's not going to show up in this one.
I definitely can see that happening. Next one, we have the Jets at Chicago. Got Chicago's defense getting back on track against the rookie. I'm going 24-16 for the Bears. So you got?
This is the perfect opponent for the Bears after coming up short against the Patriots. They lick their wounds. They lick their chops. They're going to make Darnold's life miserable. This is the Bears all day.
Next matchup, we have Baltimore at Carolina. I'm going with Baltimore on the road, 23-16. Who you got?
Man, I want to. This is a tough one. I'm going to go home team on this one. I think the Panthers are. I think they're locked in defensively. I think they're going to take that big time win at Philly. I think it's going to carry over, and I think they're not going to let down because they know they have to keep the pedal to the metal. So I see the Panthers winning that.
For the next matchup, we have the Colts at the Raiders. Raiders don't have much left after trading everything away, so I'm going with the Colts 28-17. Who you got?
I'm going with the Colts 35-0. Right now, I am seeing I'm seeing a fire sale that's happening in Oakland. It's almost as if the team is waving their silver flag. I would say white, but of course they love their black and silver. I'm seeing them waving their silver flag, saying, "Okay, this is our swan country, Oakland. Bye-bye, because we're going to put forth a contender in Las Vegas." And it's putting a 2018 product that's out there that's horrendous to begin with. That's even more horrendous because Marshawn Lynch is injured now. And without a Mac, without a Cooper, and with a dinged-up car, it's getting worse and worse by the game. Yeah, this is going to be an ugly one. The Colts are going to take this one.
Next matchup, we have the 49ers at the Cardinals. Definitely not going to watch this one. I got San Francisco winning 24-18. Who you got?
Yeah, even though this is a real game, I think the 49ers are going to take it because, I don't think they recovered from that boat whooping the Broncos gave them. Oh, man. Yeah, this is the 49ers.
For the next matchup, we have Green Bay at the Rams. I got the Rams winning 30-20. Who you got?
That's a good score. Because I think that's going to be the margin. And yeah, I see the Rams going 8-0. The Packers defense has nothing for the Rams. Nothing for them. And Rodgers is going to have a good game, but it's going to mean nothing because the Rams. That's going to be their game.
For the next matchup, I know they're going to re-show the Minneapolis Miracle all this week and just make me go into a ball and cry because the Saints are playing against the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. I think the Saints get a little revenge as the Vikings defense isn't what it was last year because of the things you mentioned earlier with the running game. So I got the Saints winning 30-27 in Minnesota. Who you got?
I think. How about this for irony? I think the Saints will win, but I think the score is going to be 24-23. And the reason why I say that is, I agree with you. The running game for the Vikings is putrid. And the Saints just have too much offensively for the Vikings. And if they stay the course of play, and I won't say the exact game, but if they play a similar game that they did Sunday against the Ravens, I think Sunday night, you would be a happy man because the Saints would go home with a picture. Like
hearing that. Monday night is a good night to go out and spend with your family. If you watch too much Monday Night Football, this is the week to do something with your wife on Monday night because we have the Patriots at Buffalo. I got the Patriots winning 38-7. How you see this one going?
I got the Bills Mafia winning. I need to see one of those cats jump off of a cab and put an elbow through a table. Another Bills Mafia member. Yeah, because I got to say, greatest tailgating crew in all NFL is the Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
That's going to be the most entertaining thing the Bills do because the Patriots are going to wipe the mat with them in Orchard Park.
Definitely. So that was our Week 8 picks. So now it's time for sports trivia. This is where I like to test our guest and our audience with some sports trivia. And I always do it with the favorite teams of the guests. So you ready for some Houston sports trivia?
Yeah, let me have it.
All right, so for the first question, they're all going to be multiple choice. For the first one, who is the all-time leader in total assists for the Houston Rockets? Is it James Harden, Calvin Murphy, Alan Lavelle, or Kenny Smith? Let me give it to you one more time. Who is the all-time leader in total assists for the Houston Rockets? James Harden, Calvin Murphy, Alan Lavelle, or Kenny Smith?
Part of me wants to say Alan Level, but I'm going to say Harden.
Harden eventually will be, but not yet. The all-time leader in total assist is Calvin Murphy, who had...
That surprised me. I know he could score. I didn't know he had that many assists.
Yeah, he definitely was more of a scorer, and it's more of just the time period. He played with the Rockets from 70 to 83, and he had 4,402 assists during that time. But James Harden's going to pass him up, if not this year, then next. Question number 2.
Yeah.
Who is the all-time leader in three-point field goal percentage for the Rockets? Is it John Barry, Michael Dickerson, Ulrich Rukasner, or Kenny Smith? Give it to you one more time. Who is the all-time leader in three-point field goal percentage for the Rockets? John Barry, Michael Dickerson, Ulrich Rukasner, or Kenny Smith?
You're going to have me on this one. Oh, man. Why not? Kenny the Jet Smith.
It's a very good guess, but the correct answer is John Barry.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, John Barry from 04 to 06 shot 43.6% from the three-point line, which is the all-time record right now for the Rockets. So now let's do a little football for Houston. Who holds the single-season record for receptions for the Houston Texans? Is it Owen Daniels, Dominique Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, or Andre Johnson? I'll give it to you one more time. Who holds the single-season record for receptions for the Houston Texans? Is it Owen Daniels, Dominique Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, or Andre Johnson?
It's got to be a guy who put forth one of the most impressive wide receiver seasons in the history of the NFL, catching over 110 balls with 4 different quarterbacks, DeAndre Hopkins.
Good guess, but Andre Johnson still holds the record for single-season reception yards. He had 115.
Oh,
Yes.
Wow, he had more. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had 115 in 2008. He also had 1,575 yards that season.
Mm-hmm.
For question number 4, Arian Foster, of course, is the all-time leading rusher for the Houston Texans. Who is second in rushing yards in Texan history? Is it Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue, Dominique Williams, or Ben Tate? I'll get to you one more time. Arian Foster, of course, is the all-time leader in rushing yards for the Texans. Who is second in Texan history? Is it Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue, Dominique Williams, or Ben Tate?
It would be Dominique Williams, and I forgot what his name was before he changed to Williams.
That is correct, yes. Dominique Williams had 3,195 rushing yards from 03 to 05. So let me just recap the questions for the people real quick. Question number 1, who is the all-time leader in total assists for the Houston Rockets? It's Calvin Murphy, who had 4,402 assists during his 13 years with the Rockets. Question number 2, who is the all-time leader in three-point field goal percentage for the Rockets? It's John Barry, who shot 43.6% during his time with the Rockets. Question number 3, who holds a single-season record for receptions for the Houston Texans? Is Andre Johnson with 115 in 2008. Question number 4, Arian Foster is first in rushing yards all time for the Texans, who is second. It is Dominique Williams, who had 3,195 yards during his time with the Texans. So thank you for being a good sport during sports trivia. And now it's time for Forgotten Players. This is where we pay homage to players who may have been good but not great, great but not recognized, or players who you may have just forgotten about, who we want to remind you of. Who is your forgotten player today, Cole?
I'll go this route. My forgotten player is Earl Campbell, and since he is not considered a Houston Texan because he wasn't, people just have forgotten that this guy was one of the hardest tackles, I should say, that ever ran the ball. I mean, to the point where Jim Brown said that I'll take myself first, I'll take Campbell second, and you can have anybody else. I don't care. This guy was Rookie of the Year in 1978, was the MVP in 1979, was the rushing champion in 1980, and the rushing champion all three of those years. And he came up during the time when you had the greatest dynasty to ever exist in the NFL in the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Steel Curtain era. His greatness, I don't know if it was felt nationally. It definitely was. It still is with Houston. And I had posters of him on my wall when I was growing up. And he still, to me, is my favorite running back. Him and Walter Payton, I can watch footage of them all day. But yeah, Earl Campbell, he's my forgotten player.
Great forgotten player, man. Earl Campbell, one of the hardest runners, if not the hardest runner in NFL history. Someone who I'm pretty sure defenders didn't want to see coming. That dude, the highlights of him just running over people and people trying to tear him down and only getting his jersey, literally turning his jersey off his shoulder pads while he's still going, is incredible, man. So great forgotten player there. I went basketball for my forgotten player today with Otis Thorpe is my forgotten player. Otis Thorpe was a 6'9" power forward. He was the 9th overall pick by the then Kansas City Kings, which they moved to Sacramento the next year in a 1984 draft out of Providence College. Thorpe played 17 years in the NBA for quite a few teams. He played for the Kings, the Rockets, Blazers, Pistons, Grizzlies, Wizards, Spurs, and ended with the Hornets. The one-time All-Star averaged 14 points per game for his career, 8.2 rebounds, while shooting 54% from the field. His best season was the 87-88 year with the Kings. He averaged 20.8 points per game, 10.2 rebounds per game, and 50% from the field he shot. So big shout out to Earl Campbell and Otis Thorpe, as our forgotten players today. Man, it was fun doing this episode with you, Cole. Hope you had a good time.
Oh, I did. And thank you for the Otis Thorpe one because he was key in that 94 team with the Rockets. Great memories. Thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity to be with you and just talk sports, man. Talk sports with a knowledgeable person like yourself. Yeah, I really enjoy myself.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And please tell people where they can find you and follow you on social media.
All right. Well, I am on Instagram at Cole Sportz with a Z. I am on Facebook at Cole Sportz with a Z. I am on Twitter at Cole_Sports with a Z. You can, if you want to email me, it's info at colesportswithaz.com. And you can check out every episode of Cole Sportz with a Z on every podcatcher imaginable, of course, iTunes / Apple Podcast, and colesportswithaz.com.
Yes, I highly recommend the show. When you start the interview show again, Revelations, please let me know. I definitely want to be on it, and definitely will tell people to check it out. This man right here is very knowledgeable. If you don't get that after listening to the past 2 hours of this show, you just don't know. But until next time, go real or go home. Peace.